Welcome to the Omni Dental Podcast.
Glad to be here for this one.
Yeah, so I was actually just looking in the mirror this morning, doing the usual, brush, floss, checking for gray hairs.
Yeah, the morning routine.
Right. And I had this, I don't know, this moment of realization. Our smile is, it's arguably the most public part of our identity.
100%.
It's the first thing people see. It's how we emote, how we connect with people. But for so many of us, it's also this massive source of private anxiety.
It really is. It's a profound paradox when you think about it.
Right. We want that effortless confidence, but there's this invisible wall standing between us and the dentist's chair.
Because we live in an era where self-care is a billion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
We track our sleep, we optimize our diets, yet when it comes to our teeth, we often just operate on fear and misinformation.
Exactly.
We treat our smile like it's something we just have to live with, rather than something we can actively manage and improve.
And that's exactly why we're doing something a little different today. We aren't just talking about, cavities or flossing techniques. We are doing a deep dive into the world of cosmetic dentistry.
A very misunderstood world.
Very. And look, before you roll your eyes and think Hollywood veneers or those crazy reality TV makeovers, just stop. We are unpacking the intersection of health, high-tech engineering, and genuine personal confidence.
Because people tend to categorize dentistry into two boxes. It's either a painful necessity or it's frivolous vanity.
Right.
But as we'll see from the research we have today, those lines are completely blurring. Modern cosmetic procedures are often just as much about structural integrity as they are about aesthetics.
Yeah, so to guide us through this maze of misconceptions, I brought a stack of fascinating resources here from Omni Dental and MedSpa.
Excellent source.
We are analyzing their core philosophy, their About Us breakdown, and specifically a really insightful report they released titled The Truth Behind Common Cosmetic Dentistry Myths, and that's dated February 27, 2026.
And I'm really glad you flagged the date there. February 2026. That is crucial context for this deep dive.
Because things change so fast.
Rapidly. Dentistry is a field that evolves incredibly fast. If you are basing your fears or your financial expectations on what your parents experienced back in, say, 2005, you are working with completely obsolete data.
It's a different ballgame.
A totally different ballgame. The technology available right now, today, is light years ahead.
So what's the actual mission of this deep dive? Why did Omni Dental put this specific report out there for people to read?
Well, if you look at the source material, the mission is actually quite empathetic. It addresses a very human problem, which is hesitation.
Hesitation?
Yeah. Dr. Bilas Poles and his team, they've identified that the main reason people walk around with chipped teeth or discoloration or pain isn't because they don't want to fix it.
Right, nobody wants to be in pain.
Exactly. It's because they are afraid.
And we aren't just talking about the classic fear of the drill, right? Though I definitely have that.
No, although that is certainly part of it. The report identifies this triad of fears. There's the fear of the cost, the fear of physical pain, and the fear of judgment.
Judgment.
Yeah, the idea that caring about how your smile looks is somehow superficial or vain.
Mm-hmm.
Our goal today is to use the facts provided in this dossier to dismantle those barriers one by one.
I love that. Let's get right into the reality of it. But first, we should probably ground ourselves. Who is the source we're looking at today?
Omni Dental and MedSpa.
Right, and they are located in Arlington Heights, Illinois.
Specifically at 305 East Rand Road. And judging by their service map in the documents, this isn't just a small neighborhood spot. They serve a massive chunk of the northwest Chicago suburbs.
Yeah, I was looking at the list of communities they cover. It's extensive. You've got Buffalo Grove, Palatine, Mount Prospect, Rolling Meadows.
And Schaumburg, Wheeling, Des Plaines, Elk Grove Village.
It's a huge footprint.
It suggests that they have built a reputation that makes people willing to drive a couple of towns over. When you see a service area that wide, it usually indicates a level of specialization that you can't just find on every street corner.
Now, as I was reading through their About Us material, I caught something that seemed like a bit of a contradiction at first. I actually had to read it twice to wrap my head around it.
I think I know exactly what you're referring to.
The eco-friendly angle.
Yes.
They market themselves as having advanced cutting-edge tools for precision. But in the exact same breath, they emphasize being an environmentally conscious practice.
It feels like an oxymoron at first glance.
It does. Usually when I think high-tech medical facility, I think high consumption. Lots of power, lots of plastic waste, tons of disposables.
It definitely seems counterintuitive. But if you dig into the logistics of modern dentistry, It actually makes perfect sense.
How so?
The text highlights that they are committed to minimizing environmental impact through sustainable practices. And here's the key takeaway. In 2026, advanced almost always means efficient.
Unpack that for us. How does a high-tech dental tool save the planet?
Take digital imaging, for example. In the old days of dentistry, taking an X-ray meant using chemical film.
Oh, those little sharp cardboard things they shoved in your mouth.
Exactly. You had lead foils, you had developing fluids that were toxic and had to be disposed of very carefully, and you had all this physical plastic waste. It was a messy process.
I hadn't even thought about the chemical byproduct of an old X-ray.
Most people don't. But with the digital sensors that OmniDental uses, that waste stream drops to near zero. You get an instant image, higher resolution, less radiation for the patient, and absolutely no chemical waste.
That's amazing.
Or consider precision milling for crowns. If you can map a tooth digitally and cut a restoration to the exact micron, you aren't wasting materials. You use exactly what is needed. So strangely enough, the most high-tech path is often the greenest path.
That is a really cool perspective. Efficiency equals sustainability. Now, the driving force behind this practice is Dr. Poles. What do we know about him from the dossier?
He occupies that professional sweet spot. The text notes he has over a decade of experience.
Which is a solid chunk of time.
It matters, because dentistry is as much an art as it is a science. You want someone who has seen thousands of mouths, someone who understands the nuance of a human bite.
Right. You don't necessarily want the person who graduated last week, but you also don't want the person who hasn't opened a medical journal since 1990.
Precisely. You want experience combined with a real hunger for advancement. The text highlights his dual focus. He isn't just looking at immediate needs.
Like, let's patch this hole and get you out the door.
Exactly. He is focused on long-term health. He's playing the long game with your mouth.
Which leads right into their core philosophy. The text explicitly mentions a patient-first mentality. They talk about treating patients like family, and they mention that they treat everyone from toddlers to seniors.
That family aspect is key because it fundamentally changes the vibe of the treatment. It stops being a transaction.
A transaction meaning, I give you money, you fix my tooth.
Right. It stops being that and starts being a relationship. When a practice sees toddlers and seniors, it means they are tracking health over a lifetime. They aren't just fixing problems, they are trying to prevent them.
Okay, so we have the setting. A high-tech, eco-friendly, family-oriented practice in the Northwest Chicago suburbs. Now let's get to the real meat of this deep dive.
The myths.
Let's dismantle them.
These are the mental blocks that keep us from picking up the phone. Myth number one. And honestly, this is the one that I think stops 90% of people before they even open a Google search.
The wealth myth.
The rich person fallacy. The idea that cosmetic dentistry is basically a luxury good, reserved for celebrities, influencers, or just people with money to burn.
It is the most pervasive myth by far, and the report calls it out immediately as outdated.
Outdated is polite, but let's play devil's advocate for a second. Dentistry is expensive. Materials cost money. The expertise of Dr. Poles costs money. How do they actually counter the idea that this is only for the wealthy? Well, they don't deny that quality care has a cost. They aren't giving it away. But the text heavily emphasizes financial flexibility.
Okay.
The old model of dentistry, and maybe this is what people still remember from their childhood, was often a lump sum game. You need this work. Okay, write a check for the full amount today, or you don't get the treatment.
Which is just a complete non-starter for most normal families.
Exactly. OmniDental highlights flexible financing options. They are shifting the conversation from, I can't afford this giant bill right now, to how can we fit this into my monthly budget?
So they treat it more like an ongoing investment.
Yes, like a car payment or a gym membership, rather than a sudden catastrophic expense that wipes out your savings.
That reframing is huge, but it's not just about payment plans, right? I think there is also a major misconception about the procedures themselves.
How so?
When people hear cosmetic dentistry, they immediately picture a full set of porcelain veneers, top and bottom, which is arguably the most expensive thing you can do.
That is a crucial point. The source material makes a clear distinction between high-end total overhauls and targeted improvements. There is a menu of options. You don't have to do the full Hollywood makeover to see a dramatic difference.
Can you give us an example from the text? What's a menu item that fits a normal budget?
Dental bonding. This is a fantastic example that the report highlights. Let's say you have a chipped tooth. or maybe a small gap between your front teeth that has just always bothered you.
Sure.
You might assume you need a pricey veneer or years of braces to fix it. But bonding uses a tooth-colored resin that the dentist sculpts directly onto the tooth.
So it's like high-tech sculpting.
Exactly. It's pure artistry. Dr. Poles would apply the resin, shape it to look exactly like your natural tooth structure, and then cure it with a special light.
And how long does that take?
It's often done in a single visit. It's minimally invasive and costs a fraction of what a custom porcelain veneer costs. But visually, it solves the exact same problem.
That is a total game changer.
Or look at professional teeth whitening. The report mentions this as an entry-level cosmetic procedure. It offers a completely different price point than structural work, but it can drastically change how a smile looks in an afternoon.
So the takeaway here is that a skilled dentist isn't just looking at your teeth, he's looking at your wallet, too, in a respectful way.
Right. They review your goals and your budget to create a plan that works for you. It's not all or nothing. It's accessible, not exclusive.
Okay, so we've tackled the wallet, we can manage the cost, now let's tackle the nerves. Myth number 2, the pain factor.
Ah, the visceral barrier. This is the big emotional one.
Truly. I mean, nobody wakes up on a Saturday morning and thinks, I'd love to go have someone poke around in my mouth with sharp metal tools.
That one.
And the assumption is, if it's cosmetic, it's entirely optional, so why would I voluntarily sign up for pain?
That is a completely logical fear if you were operating on data from 20 years ago. But the source material argues that modern dentistry uses gentle methods and advanced tools.
Gentle methods sounds lovely in a glossy brochure, but what does that actually mean when the chair is reclined and the light is in your eyes?
It comes down to the technology. We talked about precision earlier. The text notes that many procedures cause little to no discomfort simply because they are vastly less invasive now.
Give me an example.
If you're using digital 3D guides to place an implant or high-speed electric handpieces that vibrate significantly less than the old air-driven drills, you are causing way less trauma to the tooth and the surrounding gum tissue.
And less trauma mechanically means less pain physically. That makes sense.
But beyond just the physical tools, they actively address the psychological anxiety itself. Omnidental and MedSpa specifically highlights their sedation options.
Seeing that word sedation is going to be huge for a lot of people listening.
It is. And we need to be clear here. This isn't just about numbing the gum with a shot of lidocaine. This is about managing the entire nervous system.
Right.
The About Us page has a whole section dedicated to comfortable appointments and creating a relaxing environment. If you are anxious, they have protocols. Whether it's nitrous oxide or oral sedation, they want to help you basically disconnect from the stress of the experience.
So you're there in the room, but you're not really there mentally worrying about it.
Exactly. The goal is for you to be completely relaxed. And because it's a med spa environment, the entire sensory experience is designed to be less clinical and more soothing. It's not that sterile, scary hospital vibe from the 80s.
And what about after the appointment? Because sometimes the procedure itself is fine thanks to the drugs, but the next 3 days at home are totally miserable.
The report addresses the aftermath, too. It notes that for things like bonding and whitening, there is minimal recovery time.
Like back to normal immediately.
You are often back to work that very same afternoon. And even for the more intense stuff, like dental implants, they emphasize careful planning.
How does planning reduce pain?
By digitally mapping everything out beforehand. They reduce the amount of probing and cutting required during the actual surgery, which creates a faster, cleaner healing process afterward.
Okay, so we can afford it, and it won't hurt as much as we fear. But here's the one that I think is the most interesting philosophical point of this entire deep dive. Myth number 3, it's just vanity.
This is my absolute favorite one to debunk, because it touches on the deep connection between how we look and how we function biologically.
Right. The misconception is that cosmetic procedures only change how teeth look. Like putting a fresh coat of paint on a crumbling wall. People think it's superficial. It's just for the selfie.
But the expert view, in the explicit view of Dr. Poles' team, is that form follows function. You really cannot separate the two.
They are linked.
Intrinsically linked. If a smile looks broken, meaning if teeth are chipped, missing, or visibly eroding, it almost always means the mouth isn't working correctly mechanically either.
Can you walk us through a specific example from the text? Let's talk about implants. I think most people think of an implant as just filling a gap so you don't look like a hockey player.
Right. But biologically, an implant is doing something much more critical than just filling a visual gap. The text points out they restore bite strength And critically, they prevent bone loss.
Prevent bone loss. That sounds intense. Can you explain that mechanism? Because I don't think most people realize their jawbone is at risk.
Sure, your jawbone is a use it or lose it type of tissue. It stays strong and dense because the roots of your teeth are constantly stimulating it every single time you bite and chew.
It's like exercise for the bone.
Exactly like exercise. But when you lose a tooth, that stimulation in that specific spot completely stops.
And what happens then?
The body is very efficient. It basically says, well, we don't need this bone anymore since there's no tooth to support, and it starts to resorb. It literally melts away and gets absorbed back into the body. That's why people who have had missing teeth for years start to get that sunken facial appearance. Their jaw is physically shrinking.
So an implant isn't just a fake tooth sitting on the gum.
No, an implant is a titanium post that acts as a surrogate root. It tricks your body into thinking the natural tooth is still there, which completely preserves the bone density. So yes, it looks better because you have a tooth, but it's actually preserving the structural integrity of your entire lower face.
It's orthopedic medicine.
Exactly. It is structural engineering, not just decoration.
That completely reframes it for me. What about veneers? The common critique there is, oh, you're just covering up your natural teeth to make them bright white.
But the text mentions they protect weak enamel.
And enamel doesn't grow back, right?
No. Once your enamel is gone, it is gone forever. If your enamel is eroding due to acid reflux or grinding your teeth at night or just natural aging, that inner part of the tooth becomes extremely vulnerable to decay and sensitivity.
So the veneer isn't just cosmetic paint.
A veneer acts like a shield. It is a brand new layer of armor for a vulnerable tooth.
And the bonding we talked about earlier.
Same exact logic. Bonding repairs minor damage before it worsens. A chip isn't just a cosmetic flaw. It's a jagged edge that traps harmful bacteria. It's a weak point where a micro crack can propagate deep into the root of the tooth.
So fixing it looks good, sure, but it also stops a bigger, much more expensive root canal problem down the road.
Exactly. So when we talk about the broader impact, we're really talking about functionality and preventative health. The text lists the ripple effects clearly. Improved speech, because teeth are crucial for proper articulation, better long-term oral health. And yes, the psychological boost of confidence.
But that confidence comes from a mouth that actually functions correctly.
Yeah.
You aren't afraid to smile, but you also aren't afraid to bite into an apple.
That is the real confidence.
That leads us perfectly into the final myth, which is all about durability. Myth number 4, results don't last.
The fear that you spend the money, you go through the whole procedure, and 2 years later, you're right back to square one.
Right. Is this a temporary fix? Are we just renting a smile here?
The data says no, but, and this is a massive but, there is a major caveat. The clarification here is that longevity is a partnership. It depends heavily on the patient.
So the dentist does their part, but you have to do yours.
Yes, the text explicitly mentions good oral hygiene habits.
So you can't just get a mouthful of shiny new veneers and stop brushing your teeth?
Definitely not. In fact, you have to be just as diligent, if not more so. Gum health is critical to holding those restorations or implants firmly in place. But if you hold up your end of the bargain, the timelines in the report are very impressive.
What are we looking at?
The report says whitening and veneers can last years.
And the implants?
Implants can last decades.
Decades. That's essentially a lifetime solution for many adult patients.
It is. But the text reinforces the need for regular checkups to protect the investment. I really like that phrasing. Protect the investment. It's exactly like buying a high-performance car. You wouldn't buy a Ferrari and then just never change the oil.
Yeah. That's a great analogy. You buy the performance, but you still have to do the routine maintenance.
Exactly. If you treat it well, it lasts.
So let's look at the scoreboard here. We've thoroughly busted these myths. We know cosmetic dentistry at OmniDental is accessible thanks to flexible financing. It's low pain thanks to sedation and precision tech. It's highly functional because it restores health and preserves bone structure. And it's durable. It lasts if you care for it.
It's a very compelling case. The barriers really do start to crumble when you look at the actual facts instead of the rumors.
But what does this actually look like for a listener who decides, okay, I'm interested? What is the human experience of walking into OmniDental?
This is the real. So what are the entire discussion? The text has a great line that I think perfectly sums up their approach. We believe education helps patients feel confident.
I like that.
That is the core of their patient journey.
Walk us through that process based on the source material. Say I walk into the office on Rand Road. What actually happens?
First, it isn't. Open wide and let's start drilling. It's a conversation. It's a comprehensive review of your goals. They listen to what you want to achieve. They look at your anxiety levels, your specific budget, and your underlying medical needs.
So you're an active part of the planning committee.
Exactly. Then, and this goes right back to dismantling the money myth, you get clear pricing. No hidden fees, no surprises. You know exactly what it costs and exactly how you're going to pay for it before anyone even picks up an instrument.
Which essentially removes the anxiety from the transaction side of things.
Right. Then they build a custom treatment plan. It's not a cookie-cutter, one-size-fits-all approach. And finally, the execution. The text uses the word flawless precision, utilizing that state-of-the-art digital tech we mentioned earlier.
And I think it's really important to remind everyone, because we've been focusing so hard on the cosmetic side today, that this is a full-service practice.
Oh, absolutely. While we are discussing veneers and implants, OmniDental is also handling sudden emergencies, complex root canals, and general family dentistry.
They are equipped for the whole spectrum.
You don't go to one place for a routine cleaning and then have to get referred across town for a veneer. It's comprehensive care entirely under one roof.
Which I think naturally builds that trust factor. You're not just a cosmetic case study to them. You're a whole patient with overall health needs. If you have a random toothache in 6 months, they're the exact same people you call.
It ties right back to that family philosophy we started with. They want to be your lifelong dental home, not just a quick pit stop for a makeover.
So let's wrap this up. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We really have.
Yeah.
We've learned that the barriers to fixing your smile are mostly in our heads, or they're based on outdated information from 20 years ago. Cosmetic dentistry at a place like OmniDental is accessible, it's comfortable, and it's highly functional.
And for our listeners in the Northwest Chicago suburbs, Arlington Heights, Buffalo Grove, Schaumburg, Wheeling, Des Plaines, if you have been sitting on the fence about your smile, the sources suggest it's time to at least have the conversation.
Right, you don't have to commit to surgery just to ask a question.
Exactly. Just get the information. Information kills fear.
It really does.
If you want to reach out to OmniDental and MedSpa, the number is 847-483-8833. Or, frankly, just go to their website and book online. It seems like they've streamlined the whole process to be as low friction as possible for you.
That number again is 847-483-8833.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final thought. We've talked a lot about the myths today. But looking at all this evidence, the bone loss prevention, the enamel protection, the profound mental health aspects, something else really strikes me.
What's that?
The arbitrary line we draw between a want and a need. We usually categorize things as, I need a root canal, versus, I want veneers. But after today, I'm not so sure.
That is the exact provocative thought I'm left with as well. If a cosmetic procedure improves your bite so you can chew properly, and it protects your jawbone from physically deteriorating, and it boosts your mental health by making you confident enough to actually engage with the world, is the distinction between cosmetic and medical actually real?
That's a really great question to chew on, pun fully intended.
Perhaps the healthy smile really is the beautiful smile. Maybe we need to stop apologizing for wanting our teeth to look good, because usually that means they're working right too.
I love that. Form and function working together. Thank you for listening to the OmniDental podcast.
Thanks for listening.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.